Yo, just when I was about to show up, like I planned to get here at a certain hour because of the sun, and I'm telling you, just when I was about to cross these railroad tracks, this happened. I am using my Zoom H1N, my Purple Panda lavalier mic, and I'm shooting with the Panasonic S5, and I'm not going to tell you which lens I'm using yet, but I will tell you in this video. Alright, you know what? I figured, why not continue this video using a different lens, letting you know what it is so you can compare them, and you know, not making it a big surprise what I was using. I was using the Panasonic 20-60 kit lens at the beginning of this. I've been messing with it a lot lately because I had to buy it because I needed it, because I'm getting ready to shoot a short film in a tiny little storage space, and I needed a wider lens, and I only had the Sigma 28-70, so I sold that and I bought the 20-60, and who knew? I love it. It looks beautiful. I have a Cinebloom filter on it by moment, and I'm sure that makes a big difference, but you know, I can't say it's really any different than using the Sigma. You know, maybe the Sigma is sharper. I don't really look for that kind of stuff because I'm a filmmaker, not so much a photographer. So, you know, like sharpness is not the biggest thing for me. I mean, I like to be in focus, but I don't really care if it's something that's like uber crazy, mad sharp. So yeah, for me, the 20-60 is amazing. You know, f3.5 to f5.6 is fine. So yeah, I don't know. So when I was a little boy, and I'm talking about like, I don't know, 5 years old or something like that, maybe even younger, I went to bed one night and I had this dream that my pillow was talking to me. And it freaked me out. It woke me up out of a deep sleep. I ran into my parents' room. My father was like, "What's up? What's going on?" And I told him my pillow just talked to me. So he took a deep breath, got out of bed. He goes, "Come on." So he walked into my bedroom with me, and he beat up the pillow, and he beat it pretty good. And he stomped on it, and he was pretty violent, you know. And he said to me, "You're not going to have to worry about that anymore. Don't worry about it." And I didn't use a pillow again until I was in college, because for some reason, my whole life I've carried a lot of trauma from things that happened to me. Like when something happens, I put it somewhere in my memory, and it never goes away. And it's kind of a weird thing because that doesn't allow like these little things that happen to us, you know, out of the blue that don't really mean anything, because you know, our bodies are so dynamic. You know, sometimes things come and go. It doesn't allow me to just let things go. Like I don't forget anything, you know. And my memory, you know, I mean, that it's kind of a, you know, a good thing and a bad thing for me, because I've been able to memorize like 2.5 hour scripts because I have a good memory, but also I don't forget anything. And it's kind of a curse, to be honest with you. Anyway, so what I'm doing here in this part of the video is I changed lenses, and I'm using my Minolta 28mm f2.8, this old vintage lens. It's called a Telesor, and see if you see any difference or if you like it better or whatever. I mean, I'm not, you know, the composition is not the same, obviously. I'm in a place called Milton, New York, which is a beautiful little spot on the Hudson River. And I have never seen a big boat like that docked here, so I think they're doing some kind of construction. And so anyway, about a year went by, and my father noticed that I'm not using my pillow. You know, I'm sleeping flat on the bed. So one night we're sitting, and he says to me, "What are you afraid of?" And I said to him, "I'm afraid of being invisible." He said, "What do you mean?" I said that I'm going to be forgotten, that nobody's ever going to remember me. you know, I'm afraid of being one of these people that just takes up space. And he just looked at me like, you're 5. Like, what are you talking about, you know? And so I must have heard that from somewhere. I must have heard somebody say that. But that is how I felt. Like, and I've always felt that way. I've always felt like I was going to be, you know, making sure every day of my life that I was never somebody who just takes up space, that I was going to make some kind of contribution because I did not want to be forgotten. And I guess it's because, I mean, I don't know this for a fact, you know, but I guess maybe because I came out of foster care and I was adopted and I didn't really feel connected, you know, and also I thought there was a baby store when I was little, and I was always afraid that my parents were going to return me. And so, I don't know, you know, I don't know why I felt that way, but that's what I've always been afraid of. I guess I wanted to say that I understand the concept of fear, you know. I think fear is something that finds its way into almost everything in our daily lives, you know. And in fact, I think it's one of those things that you have to find a way to overcome it. Otherwise, you're probably not going to be able to accomplish anything in your life, you know. But I also want to say that I understand fear, you know. And I don't know if this is from, you know, coming out of foster care and being adopted and, you know, being different in that kind of way, and if I have some kind of trauma that's in my body from the chaos that was my life when I was born, you know, because I was literally born and like taken from my biological mother in the same moment. Like the minute I was born, they just took me away and that was it, you know, like, and you know, I wonder about that, you know, like I know I was a baby and so I didn't know what was going on, but I knew what was going, you know, babies cry, babies laugh, so babies know what's up, and I don't know what my biological mother was experiencing, and I don't know what the nurses or the doctors or whoever was around. I don't know if there was a social worker right there who just grabbed me, some stranger who took me to some strange place, or I don't know if my first foster family took me. Like, I had 3 foster families before I was 3 months old. So I have no idea what it was, but I'm assuming from a lot of things that I've read that I have a lot of trauma in my body, and probably that fear lives with me. I believe that everything that we're afraid of, you know, the things that we fear in our lives, when you think about it, like what could really happen in most cases, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, jumping off a bridge or doing something stupid, stepping in front of a train, that I can understand being afraid of. But specifically in this video, I'm talking about starting an actual project, you know what I mean? Like committing to making a feature film, or even a short film, or a documentary, you know, or even maybe you're committing to making a YouTube channel. And sorry I keep doing this, these bugs are bugging out here. But when you think about it, like what's going to happen, you know, what's the worst thing that can happen? Like, what are you afraid of, you know? But on the other hand, I do understand what it feels like. It's like it could be disabling to be afraid, you know, and I have that kind of trauma, I have that kind of fear in my body, and so I get it, you know what I mean? I get it, you know, and I also have weird kind of medical things that have happened to me in my life over the years that nobody's ever been able to really figure out, like completely. So, but I always get over them, which is weird, you know. I wonder, like, do I do it to myself? Like, I have no idea. But the thing is, how am I going to tie all this up to filmmaking? The other day, if you know who Mark Bone is, a big YouTuber, he's got a thing called The Art of Documentary. And one of his artists who's in that community made a short film in China, I believe. And it was a beautiful film. I'm going to link it in the description. I don't remember the woman's name right now, the filmmaker, but I'll put all that information here. It was beautiful and it was so inspiring, you know. But it was such a small film. And the camera hardly moved the entire film. And I just thought to myself, like, this is a good example, which this is the way I feel about my work, by the way. Because if you watch The Center of Distance, my first film, or if you watch This Is the End for Me, which you can't see yet because it's going through the festival circuit, but if you watch those 2 pieces of art, you know, it's like, you can do that. You know, it's accessible to everybody. A lot of people over the years have accused me of not wanting to collaborate, you know? Like, all the time, I'm always supportive of people just doing shit. Like, don't wait for anybody. Don't wait for opportunities. Don't wait for more people. Don't wait for money. Don't wait for sponsors. Don't wait for that grant to come. Like, don't wait. If you got something to do, do it. I saw the short film and I was so inspired by it. You know, I thought it was so beautiful. But I also thought, like, wow, I wish for a lot of people to watch this, because, you know, there's so many people who are afraid to get started. Oh, geez, here comes a train again. This is unbelievable. First a train in that direction, now a train in this direction. So I'm going to have to shut this down for a minute, because once this train shows up, you're not going to be able to hear anything. Let's take a pause. And in fact, that's one of the reasons I went into solo theater, is because I wanted to be in a creative space where I didn't have to depend upon anybody for anything. Like, I could write a story, I could memorize it, and I could go stand in the middle of the street and share it with people, or I could be in a big theater. Like, I don't have to rely on anybody. I don't need lights. I don't need a set. I don't need anything. And so with filmmaking, it's a little bit different, because obviously you have to have a camera. But, you know, in this day and age, who doesn't have a phone, right? And who doesn't have a phone that shoots video? Like, very few people. And, you know, there are some people who don't. But, you know, also, like, probably if you're somebody who can't afford a phone or a cheap camera, you probably ain't thinking about making art. You're probably thinking about how to get inside today, because you probably have nowhere to live. And you're probably thinking of much more important things than making a movie. Let's put it that way. But if you're like the rest of us, and if you're struggling, or, you know, if you're not rich, or whatever your circumstances are, you probably have a phone, or you probably have access to be able to get a decent camera for a couple of $100. Like, you can get a Panasonic GH5 for less than $500. You can get a Panasonic S5, the one that I'm shooting with right now, for between $700 and $800, you know. Or if you're a little bit better off, you can, you know, spend a couple of $1,000 and get a Panasonic GH7 or an S5 Mark II or a Sony FX30 or a, you know, A6700. You can get a great camera and a great lens. You know, you can, the lenses that I use, you can get these lenses for $75, $150. Like, these are vintage lenses. Just get on eBay and find them, and they look amazing, you know. And I have two anamorphic lenses, and combined, those anamorphic lenses cost me less than $800, right? There's Sirui 35mm f1.8 and Sirui 75mm f1.8 APS-C lenses, and I got them on sale, brand new, less than $800 combined. So I'm just saying, you can get gear, you know what I mean? You can get, you know, audio equipment. You know, the other thing I'm doing right now is I'm using the Hollyland Lark Max, because I wasn't using it at the beginning of the video, and I don't like to use this because I hate the way it looks. And as a matter of fact, somebody actually commented on one of my videos the other day, you know, telling me to not use it because it was distracting to him, which was kind of asshole-ish of him, but I have to say that I agree with him. And, you know, I love the way it sounds, I love the convenience, but I think it looks like shit. You know, I watched her video, and it was this beautiful video, but it was a small story. It was about something so small, and I'm not saying unimportant, but something so small and so kind of like specific and so meaningful and important, actually. And I felt something very spiritual, but something also very kind of environmental, and there's just something about it that really moved me. But also it was a film about one person trying to achieve one thing. And, you know, I think it was shot by one person, I think. Although she did tell me, because I did comment on it on YouTube, that she had a different colorist, and she had collaborators, you know. I haven't had collaborators on any of my film except for the music. I've been accused of not wanting to collaborate, and nothing could be further from the truth. I have been craving great collaborators for my entire career. The thing is, it's hard tough to find people willing to dive in as deeply as you for your own project. And if you're not working with the same work ethic that I am, if you're not on that level of commitment and dedication, I'm not interested in working with you. And I'm not mad at you for not wanting to be that way, but why would I put my work, anywhere near you if you're not committed in the same way that I am? I can do it myself. It's not ideal, and it's not what I want, but if necessary, I've set myself up where I can do everything myself, including making feature film. So I guess what I'm saying is, I encourage you to watch that short film. And again, I'm going to put the link in this description. And I also encourage you to watch my first film, The Center of Distance, because I shot it with my phone and it won all these awards and it did really, really well and people loved it. And I am so proud of it. I shot it during the pandemic. And, I literally, like nobody was ever around for any shots. I edited the whole thing myself in DaVinci Resolve. I did everything, everything. And you can do that, But I think people are afraid, because I think they look at it like, well, I can't possibly get a crew together or people to help me or, all the things that they think they need because that's what you're taught. And, one of the greatest things about filmmaking is the collaborative experience. I agree with that, I think that's an amazing thing to work with this team of people and come together. Like it's amazing, when you're lighting people and your sound people and the camera operators and the director and all the actors and everybody comes together and then, you get this amazing score and you get sound design and, the colorist comes in and I mean, it's an amazing, amazing collaboration when you think about it. It's like a football team, like you're only as good as your weakest link, That's the thing about collaboration. The dangerous part about that is you create kind of an environment of isolation where you're isolating yourself. You're kind of pushing yourself away from a community. You're becoming so self-reliant that you don't need anybody for anything. And if you're also a loner, which I am just by nature, it's even worse. It's like you really kind of put yourself off in the middle of nowhere because you don't need anybody for anything. Because now you're doing quality work. Like in my case, I'm making feature films that are winning awards, Like I just saw my last film in a big theater in New York City winning, Best Coming of Age feature film for the Manhattan Film Festival. And I did everything myself, Other than the music, thank you, Steve Peckman, but, I shot everything. I did everything. I did all the acting. Thank God I'm an actor. I mean, that makes me more fortunate. But I am also isolated. I don't really have a community around me. I do everything myself. And when I do work with people, I have high expectations. And I would say 99% of the time, people do not live up to my expectations. And it's not their fault. And why would I expect them to, It's really like unfair of me to even, consider that somebody would do that. But I expect that, like I know for myself, if I'm working for you, I'm approaching that work as if it were my own. Otherwise, I have no problem saying no. So don't be afraid, like write a script. You have to have a story in your head. If you are an aspiring filmmaker or a filmmaker who already is doing things, or even if you're a working professional, like maybe you're doing weddings and events, Sweet 16s, corporate work, stuff like that, but you want to do a narrative or a documentary, why not do it? You don't need anybody to help you. You just need some desire. You need a tripod, that's it. And you need to be willing to beat up your camera a little bit. You're going to have to be like maybe a half a mile from the camera sometimes to get the shots that you want. Like you're going to have to be creative. You're going to have to challenge yourself. But what's wrong with that? I mean, that's what great art is. Challenging ourselves, getting out of our comfort zone, trying to get the best of ourselves, trying to reach our potential, but most importantly, trying to share stories with one another. It's so important and it's so cool, and it's so generous of spirit. And so I wanted to tell a story about how the biggest fear that I have in my life, and this started to happen to me when I first got into the theater. And I was suddenly doing something that I felt I was born to do. And I was so excited about what I would develop that would take me years to put together. Like, you know, I wound up doing an off-Broadway show that took me 6 years to develop. And I worked on it every day for 6 years. Like there was nothing else in my life. You know, it was a gigantic thing that came into my life and it took over my life. And, but I found myself starting to get really paranoid about dying. So I'm going to end this video now, you know. I'm beginning my next big project right now. It's got a working title called Disposable. And I know that sounds negative, but that is what is, you know, inspiring me to do this film. And I'm almost positive that that title will change along the way at some point. But I'm starting the film, and I have a fear. But the only fear I have in making this film is I am thinking of shooting it with anamorphic lenses. And the thing is, the way I shoot, I run all over the place. I go everywhere, and again, I do it by myself. And my anamorphic lenses are a little bit heavier than the rest of my lenses. And I'm like, do I really want to commit to shooting this whole thing with anamorphic lenses and, you know, have that kind of heavy burden? But as you can see, that's not a big fear, you know, and they're not that heavy. And if that's what I think is going to serve the work and make it look the best, then if that's the way I want it to look for the aspect ratio that I'm going to choose, then that's what I'm going to do. But I might very well choose that aspect ratio and go, you know what, my Helios and my other vintage lenses will be fine. Like, I don't know yet, but I don't fear like, oh my God, I don't know if I could do it because I've done it. So I'm speaking from experience, okay? I'm not telling you to like do this, but I've never done it, which a lot of people on YouTube do. You know, I'm telling you to do it, you know, and some people think I'm crazy. Like they're like, why would you even shoot a feature film like with your own money, like you're not getting paid? I don't have to spend any money. I do it on my own. I'm not renting locations or anything like that. I'm stealing locations. I'm using places that I sneak into. Yeah, I'm breaking into I am doing crazy shit, but I'm getting it done. I'm going into the ocean. I'm jumping off of bridges. I'm doing crazy stuff. Having this kind of random, weird, unrealistic, you know, fear about getting hit by a car or falling off the edge of a cliff or, you know, like not allowing myself to take a flight somewhere because I was like, I just want to get to opening night. I want to be able to share this work first, you know? Or in the case of my play Brooklyn Quartet, I shot a miniseries, you know, and so I started to, you know, feel like the work was so important to me that I was like, I don't want to die before this is done. Like, I want to finish this miniseries so if I die, people know what I did. You know, like they know I was here. And that all ties into this fear of, you know, being invisible and not being noticed and people forgetting about me and having no legacy. And, you know, I was like, just let me get to the end of this project and don't let me die. And so, you know, I would avoid taking trips. I would be really careful. I wouldn't want to get sick because I was really afraid of that. And I think that way, you know, and it's a weird kind of fear. And this is my biggest fear. And this is unreasonable, crazy. I can't even explain why I felt like this, but I am a hypochondriac, okay? Because I have no medical history because I was adopted and fostered. I don't know anything about any blood relatives and what they've been through or whatever. So anytime I go through anything, I feel like I'm going to die, you know? Like I've always been that way, and that's part of the reason I try to take care of myself and I try to stay so healthy, and my nutrition is crazy and all of it, you know, like, because I have this crazy anxiety. I'm just saying, you don't have to wait, but I think you're waiting. I think many, many people are waiting because they're afraid. And I don't want you to be afraid. I want you to find the courage to take that step to do it, no matter how long it takes. Look, it took me 6 years for the first one. It took me, you know, 5 years for the miniseries, and then it took me 2.5 years to develop a play that didn't happen because of COVID, and then I wound up making a movie based on that play. So really, the whole thing was like a 4.5, 5 year project to do this. This is the end for me, my last feature film, which was shot on an actual camera this time. First film I shot on an LG V40. Second film I shot on a camera because I learned how to use a camera, and here I am. But I'm telling you, making a movie, you don't have to fear anything. You don't have to fear it. And what do you have to lose? You know, if you don't like it, then you don't have to share it. But you're better for the experience, for having had the experience, you know? You're better for understanding now, oh my God, I could do this. I can get this done. by myself. I don't have to wait for anybody. I don't have to wait for any opportunity. I got nothing to complain about. I have a great camera. I got a great lens. Even if you have one lens, this 20-60, I bought it at MPB for $195. And it's like a brand new lens because they sell used gear. I got my Panasonic S5. Well, when I bought the S5, I got it brand new for $1,700, but now you could get them for like 800 bucks. This camera is dope. It's ridiculous. If you don't care about autofocus, and I don't care about autofocus. I've overcome a lot of fears and a lot of kind of phobias, and I think that's helped me with my art. You know, I've always forced myself to get out of my comfort zone, to try new things, to get out there, and I've failed many, many, many times, but I've also, you know, had some magnificent victories, you know. I could share stories with you that would make me sound like an asshole, you know, some of the victories I've had. You know, I'm just saying I've had wins and I've had losses. But I think the thing that I'm most proud of is that I'm not afraid of anything when it comes to trying things with my art. And my art, you know, I often tell people, this is not what I do, this is who I am. It's what I am. Like, I have no choice but to be an artist. You know, I couldn't do anything else. You know, I think it's all tied together. So, you know what? Do your best. Think about it, you know, like, try to figure out how you can get over these obstacles that you're creating for yourself, and stop, you know, dwelling on gear and all this bullshit. Like, watch the videos. I mean, YouTubers are amazing. You know what I mean? They're like these crazy filmmakers who do these commercials that rival commercials on corporate TV. And it's free and it's amazing, but you know, it can also stop you from doing anything. You could sit there and just stroll around all day and you get nothing done. And that's some bullshit, yo. It's not good for you. So stop doing it and make a movie, you know, share something, and watch the video that I'm talking about in the description of this girl. Beautiful, like really, really beautiful. I loved it so much, it inspired me so much. And so I'm just saying, if you want to do something, don't be afraid. Don't let fear be the thing that stops you. And trust me when I tell you, fear is what is creating these obstacles, the money obstacles, the collaborators, the time. Like, fear is creating all of that for you. Because you could do it yourself. You don't need those people, you don't need that money, you don't need those locations, you don't need anything. You have an amazing imagination. All you need to do is just figure it out, like think about it and just do it, you know? Like, if you can't do it this way, do it that way. If you can't do it that way, do it that way. But just do it, you know? It's like, just get out there and work. I also highly recommend, I just watched, if you have HBO Max, watch The Sympathizer. It is incredible. The story, the cinematography, the acting, ridiculous. It'll inspire you. Also, I would highly recommend watching something called Station 11. It's also HBO Max. It's an older show, and it'll make your head explode. It's so beautiful. There's something that happens at the end of that show in the final episode that, in my opinion, is one of the most beautiful moments in cinema history. Seriously. And you know, my favorite movie of all time is Cinema Paradiso, so I understand cinema history and what beautiful looks like, and trust me, Station 11 has one of those moments. So, all right, now I'm blabbering. Make a movie.